to do my high school exams in May and June, and the subjects I'm basically studying are just maths and further maths.
Well, he was always very strong in his maths. He was also very good at languages, wasn't he?
Yes, he liked Chinese.
He liked the way that Mandarin worked as a sort of code, and Nick's a great code breaker.
I think he was about 12 when he created his first application. He got, at first, I think it was Objective-C for Dummies.
I'd just been given an iPod Touch, and I was super interested in applications because they were this new thing. You could see that 5 years from then, everyone in the world was going to have one of these devices.
Well, I'm just going to show you basically how everything's made while I'm using Final Cut Pro here.
He actually started off in his bedroom doing the app.
Revising for exams, he had started to get frustrated that material he wanted wasn't succinct enough.
The search engines that existed would provide you with a long list of results, but then if you pressed on one, it wouldn't be relevant. So you go back, then you press on the next one and go back. So there was this back and forth process. And this was further augmented on a phone. Because you have a small screen, it's very difficult for you to kind of guess what's behind the content. And so I thought, why don't we come up with like a preview? But I called the app Trim It, and just pushed it out in the App Store, thinking not much would happen. Then I got this email out of the blue. It was like, we're this Hong Kong private fund. We're interested in investing in your technology.
A 16-year-old schoolboy from southwest London has invented a smartphone app which could change the way we search for information on the internet.
This is crazy, but I didn't go buy a car or spend all the money. I actually did decide to pull together this team of contractors to put together this app, Sumly.
I mean, I would sit in a board meeting with him because he was too young to be the director, and he was able to hold his own ground. And I think it was also good that we were able to provide that mother thing at the end of the day, like, you know, my mum said, I can't do this.
It was like a wild card that he could use in a negotiation.
So Sumly took an article, condensed it down into a paragraph, algorithmically. Kind of get 1 million downloads, it's going very well, and then I was kind of thinking, what am I going to do next with the company?
The vision for Sumly matched perfectly with how we were thinking about news and information. And we took Nick and his technology and what he wanted to do and applied that to a broader scale and scope like Yahoo. We could really get there.
Let us begin this half hour with the 17-year-old whose simple idea just made him millions. We'll talk to him in a moment, but first, his remarkable story.
You know, my company had been bought by Yahoo. That was just a very weird moment, kind of reading about it in a newspaper or on television, kind of going, well, that's Sumly.
One day he left home in a school uniform, and then the next day he left home in a suit. He had grown up so quickly.
I was really nervous coming into Yahoo. It was my first ever full-time job. I didn't even know if the technology was going to work well. I don't know anyone here. How are they ever going to trust me to build an app?
A lot of people focus when they meet Nick on his age. Actually, what's more remarkable is his ability to communicate a vision and inspire people.
These engineers started appearing, and within 6 months we went from nothing to an app ready to go out the door.
He had a very strong idea. He wanted to create this Yahoo News Digest.
The primary goal is to give you just as much usefulness as you would have reading 10 times the amount.
As a user, I can feel like I have an understanding of that event. I feel informed.
What you have is a really holistic approach that leverages strengths of science in old-fashioned journalism.
Almost half of the people who actually download that application come back on a daily basis. That type of retention is extraordinary.
He's in high school. So the funny thing is, like, people were really upset when we bought it because they said, well, what is this business about the founder leaving in 18 months? And we were like, well, he's got to go to college.
I still can't drive a car. You know, it's hard to get around San Francisco. I'm getting lifts from people constantly. Now I'm actually back completing my final, high school exams here. So it's kind of fun doing the time management process.
I see Nick in school, always dressed properly in his school uniform, going off to his maths lesson, and it's rather touching to see him here. It amused me as a headmaster to be having to make appointments with someone whose life was so much more complex and exciting than my own was.
The end game for me is kind of redefining how information's portrayed on a small screen, and I think it's going to take a long time, but where we're taking it's actually very fascinating.
The products that are being built today should be built by younger and younger people. And that's really where we're investing in product leaders like Nick, tremendous talent that can actually create something very unique.
Since literature started, there have been themes of youth knocking at the door, to quote an Ibsen play, but I don't think it's ever been quite so loud or impatient as we're seeing in the 21st century.
So I'm really excited to announce a new product today. It's called Yahoo News Digest.
It is addictive, I want to do that whole ride again.